Let's speak to a lawyer, Inibehe Effiong, on this development. He joins me via phone. Good to have you join us. You were largely a huge part of this case representing Sowore, and this has been going on for a really, really long time, as far back as 2019. Talk to us as to what happened that led to this particular judgment, and then what's your reaction to it?
Well, for me, I think I thank the current Attorney General for taking steps to redeem the image of the Ministry of Justice. I think I see it as an act in pursuit of self-redemption. We had former Attorney General Abubakar Malami, who, in complete disregard to the law, in utter contempt of the facts, decided to initiate these trumped-up, malicious and baseless charges of treasonable felony, cyber stalking, and so on against Mr. Sowore in 2019. After he had called for a Revolution Now protest, which was essentially a protest, which is a right guaranteed by our Constitution. But then Muhammadu Buhari-led government, led by the AG Malami, felt that Sowore had no right to call for a national protest, which he tagged Revolution Now, and that there was an attempt to overthrow the then president. Again, these allegations were lies, were based on falsehood. At some point, part of the charge was even that he committed money laundering and had been paid by some people in Dubai in furtherance of this treason or treasonable felony. We challenged them in court to show that Sowore had never been to the country that they claim he collected this money. And shamelessly, they withdrew that part of the charges. They now still left some part of it, the most serious part of it. But for us, we don't really see this as justice, really, because since 2019, Sowore has been denied of his freedom of movement. At some point, he was limited to Abuja for 3 years. He was not allowed to leave Abuja. We had to go to the Court of Appeal to have that part of the bail condition vacated. He has not been able to visit his family since 2019. During the course of this obnoxious and malicious trial, he lost his brother, who was killed on the road. He had also suffered a lot of personal problems. He was detained. He was rearrested in court. The withdrawal of the charge cannot assuage done that has been done to him. It does not compensate for the wickedness that the Malami-led Ministry of Justice perpetuated. So for me, I feel that he deserves compensation. He deserves public apology for what was done to him. These charges should never have been filed. No serious country will file this kind of ridiculous charges. But again, it is good that the current AG, Mr. Lateef Fagbemi, has decided to take a different path and not to continue with the lawlessness of the Malami-led Ministry of Justice. So,
all right, so if I may quickly come in. All right, because I was going to ask you, you've just said that this is the first step. First of all, I'm just going to ask you two questions in one. You talked about him being restricted, to Abuja for about 3 years. I was going to ask you what the implication of this judgment is for him, and then what is the next step? What are you expecting in terms of compensation?
He was restricted based on the very stringent bail conditions that were imposed on him. I want to also place on record that even at this moment that I'm talking to you, the State Security Service that some people prefer to call DSS, which the correct name is State Security Service, is still in possession of his mobile phone, which were taken from him when he was arrested in 2019. Despite the order of the Federal High Court that his mobile phone should be returned to him, so he has even been denied the right of communication. I believe that Sowore will now, examine what has happened, the order that has been made striking out the charge, and decide on how to proceed, whether to file an action against the federal government to seek compensation for malicious persecution. If I had my way, I would have said that Malami and the former President Buhari to be personally held liable for what they did to Sowore. But we know that under the law, that may be difficult. So the federal government may have to account for it. He will have to be compensated. They have to apologize to him. having been subjected to such horrendous treatment over the years. This charge for us was for us an act of witchcraft. But if you deny somebody of his freedom since 2019, based on falsehood, for a crime that he never committed, and let me also say this. When Sowore was arrested, some people still went ahead with the protest that he had called for. And I was among the lawyers who represented those protesters, including in Ogun State, where I got those charges that we filed against those who eventually participated in the said revolution, thrown out by the court. And the federal court in Lagos has also ruled that calling for a revolution is not a crime. So why was Sowore arrested in the first place?
Well, we'll see how, apologies that I had to cut in there. We'll see how